Okay, this will be the last bit of this demonstration, and we're going to block out a bunch of areas. I'm just going to close this since I turned off a bunch of layers and I don't want to fuss with getting the right ones on and off, so I didn't save anything when I changed the visibility. So now what I'd like to do is just to block out some areas for us. I set a background image, I set up the HTML5 code, but I'd like to get the header and the nav sections where they should be. So we're going to start with setting. So if this is going to be absolutely positioned, and this is in your reading from lecture 5, if this is going to be absolutely positioned, which it will be, then the containing element, which is this inner wrap div, needs to be set to a position of relative, and then the nav can be set to an absolute position. So let's go ahead and get that measurement while we're working on it here. And so that is about 399. So header is probably, I think I'm going to go ahead and just set that as a height of 399 for right now. I know I'm not going to putz with it enough to know if I need to change that decision later. And then we know that we want the nav 399 from the top. So we'll do that. So first off, inner wrap, the thing that is the reference for the absolute positioning. I'm going to go to positioning and set it to relative. Inner wrap holds the nav. And then I'm going to set header, and I'm just going to put just an H1 in there for the moment. So header is going to be set to a height of 399. And I'll give it a background color. This will be nothing beautiful, but we'll at least be able to see where things are sitting. And then nav is going to be set to an absolute position. And you don't do this, with everything, but in this case it seems like the right solution. So and you would also need to put a header in here in H2 or H something to give nav a title in the HTML5 outline structure. So this one we're going to give it a different background color, just so you can see where it goes. And then positioning, I'm going to say that it's an absolute position, and from the top it's 399. So that's going to be from the top of where inner wrap starts. And let's have a look. And that would all make sense if you do the reading. So now we have the header content, and then we have the nav showing up. If I want, the reason I'm doing it this way is because I'm going to want that nav to overlap a little bit. So let's actually take the nav and push it up just a little bit. And we're going to say, instead of 399, we're going to say 390. I don't know, we'll say 390. Since we know we're not going to get this perfect during the amount of time we have here. So I just want to show you, I'm saying that I want this to begin 390 pixels from the top of inner wrap, which happens to be the top of this yellow area. So watch now, there. So it is literally sitting on top of header to some extent. So the next thing that we want to do is to take this section here, and we want to decide about what its width is. And visually speaking, the content area, and I'm doing very rough measurements just for the sake of time. The content area here is 600, we'll say 635, and it is about 75 from the left of this inner wrap. So was that 635? Hold on. Let me give just a little bit of give here. About 635, 640. We'll go with 640 and then 75. All right. Again, you would zoom in, you would measure this very carefully normally, but in our case, we're going to just plow through so you can get an idea of what's going on. So we have lower content, and then we have left content, and that's the thing that is on the left-hand side here of this layout. Section, left content. So I gave it a unique ID. I want it to hug the left side of the screen, so I want it to float left. And we said it would be, gosh, I'm busy thinking about too many things here. Somewhere 630, 640, we'll give it 640. This is a very large layout. I know we took the size down on it. It just, normally we would never set this up with this kind of layout. And then 75, we can do 75, you know what, we can do 75 pixels from the left, but I'm actually going to handle this a little differently. I'm just going to give it the width of 640 pixels and say OK, and we'll go ahead and give it a background color so we can see it hanging out here. And I'll go ahead and save all. And now you can see that that nav was set to sit on top of it, of everything. It's in absolute position. So the text that should be in there, currently there's nothing, so there's no height to this, but it is sitting behind there. So let me go ahead and just grab this text and throw it in. And section, article. And we'll refresh, and there you go. So clearly the nav is not this tall. Normally it would be, you know, much lower, and then we would adjust accordingly here. So what I'm going to do is figure out what some of those adjustments would be, and I'm going to go ahead and float this guy to the right, and then we'll get some of the overall measurements down. So this, we're going to say, is going off of the widest thing, is 450, and it is the calls to action. So we're going to do that. Okay, and it floats right, and its width is 450, and its background color, we'll make it gray, and save all, and refresh. Okay, now because these are floating and we have nothing to stop the floating, the footer just bumped up on us. So that when I talked about clear floats earlier in the semester in the lectures, now is a time where we need to stop that whole floating behavior. So we have left content here, and then we have this whole lower content area. We want to put a clear float right here on line 40 to stop the floating behavior. So I'm just going to make a style. I know we haven't covered classes a whole lot yet, but we have covered this technique when we learned about floating. So I'm going to make a style of clear float and clear both, so it's float clears left and right. Then I'm just going to give a line break in here, a class of clear float, and now we have stuff behaving itself just a little bit more. Now since I have a margin on this side, 75. I'm going to assume this is 75 as well. And then up here, we're going to just go with 75 for the sake of time. Normally, you would measure this all out. But that's all this lower content thing. And then we probably want a certain amount of give here too, so that you see a little bit of space before we get to the footer. And the height on that looks like it's about 125. So the whole bottom area is in the lower content div, and I'm going to go ahead and after nav I'm going to create a div or a rule for lower content, and all I'm really interested in doing here is giving it the settings so we have the space up at the top and on the left and on the right, and we're not doing it to individual elements because that's a waste of our time. It'll cause problems later as we add in more things, and this way it's just taken care of by the thing that's wrapping all around everybody. So now you don't always have to give a div like this, a bottom padding, but because of the designed out nature of this, it seems to make sense that we're always going to want to have a bit of paper here. We might even give this a fixed height, which we normally, in the real world, actually this layout grows some, but if it can't grow, and we made it where if this layout grows at all, it's all going to blow up. So we would have to give this a fixed height, and we would probably want to see this charred area. So that's why I'm giving it bottom padding, but normally you probably would only do a little bit or some margin, and it wouldn't be nearly as much, but because of the design I went ahead and did that. So now that I have padding here, and I'll go ahead and bring this in a little bit so you can see. And on this, that way it just brought everybody in all at one time. And if I put anything else on the left-hand side, it will automatically, have this margin on the right, or padding on the right, and then, or padding on the left, and then padding on the right, and the top. So it's all taken care of in one fell swoop. So the last thing, well, really, that takes care of, we're into 3 videos here, so that starts to get things at least sectioned off for you. And I only did background color so you could see what was happening where. The navigation here, yeah, to get that to go horizontal, you're going to have to rely on the reading for it and whatever help I can give you in the lab. I may do another demo that focuses in on that, and I may continue with this next week, but for now this is all we've got. And so there is a really, it's fully explained in the reading, and I will be around to help out a little bit as well. So there you go. You at least are seeing, how to get some things to set up for you, and I hope this is a bit of a help.